Hello and welcome to another video. In this video we're going to go over Annihilation and Watchman. In the top left you'll see the set bonuses that I use. You could totally use Vicious Thirst, I think it's called. I do think the uptime on it is pretty bad and the amount of stacks that you need to get is pretty bad. But this spec does a lot of Vicious Slash, so you could theoretically get a lot of use out of it. Same thing for Carnage, however, I've not personally been able to test it, but when I do, maybe we'll get some more information on that, but I do think the implant should get buffed. But these are the main three that I would recommend. And if you're going to drop one of these implants to run Second Wind, it will be 100% the increased damage on Berserk, because most of your damage is coming from Slash, and having 10% more damage on Slash is very important. And a lot of your other damage is coming from Annihilate and Dual Saber Throw, outside of your dots. Obviously your dots don't get benefit from this, but the 5% for dots only under Berserk is not as good as you might think, especially with things like .dr. Now going into our gear, this is pretty much standard for most of my melee specs that I play. We run 2 accuracy, 4 alacrity, and 1 augment. You can totally forgo this augment. I only do this augment to smooth out the GCD, so if you're having issues with getting abilities off and or you get stuck in animation, I would highly recommend maybe checking this out and doing this. You totally do not need to do this. And what you would do is just put this augment into critical, and then pretty much everything else will be critical. And what I mean by 2 accuracy or 2 alacrity is that I'm running 2 accuracy enhancements, and I'm running 4 alacrity enhancements. I'm not using, how do you call it, an accuracy stem. I'm using mastery stem. So to do that with your assault, if you want to run 1 accuracy enhancement and then 2 accuracy logs plus the accuracy stem, you can totally do it that way too to reach 5% accuracy. I just do it this way because if I do want to use an accuracy stem, I'll gain more critical and I'll also be at 6% accuracy, which is not a bad thing considering how much white damage you actually do from Slash. Slash is your primary sustained damage. Alright, now moving on to our talents, I have highlighted some of these that are red. They're mostly ones that I would recommend just pretty much never taking. However, pretty much everything else is, there, and in situations you can definitely make use of them. I think all of these have some use. I just don't think they're all like amazing. But these are the ones that I use. I totally recommend trying this out. The main thing that you need to know, I 100% always use Spiteful Saber. I don't use Memorial Mask. Sometimes I do, but most of the time I'm using Spiteful because I find it just to be better. Going into our main combos, the first things that you see on the left is Sweeping Slash and Smash. Unfortunately, Spiteful Saber does not include Sweeping Slash, so therefore its priority is very, very low. You would only do this in AoE situations. Also, if you use Deadly Saber Throw, or not Deadly Saber Throw, Deadly Saber, right? Which is the dot that gets applied to your white damage abilities, it'll only apply the Deadly Saber to the main target. So if you tab while you're hitting Sleeping Slash, you can actually get those 3 stacks spread out, but it's not particularly worth it unless you're switching targets. So just keep that in mind. It doesn't actually do much, just gets applied to the main target, which is unfortunate. Same thing happens to Dual Saber Throw. Whoever gets hit first gets the Deadly Saber dot. Then we have Smash. Smashes are AoE. You have it up very often. Its radius is, in theory, the same as Vengeful Slam, but it does not feel that way at all. The dots won't usually tick right away when you smash, so sometimes it feels like you never even hit it, even though you probably did. And you get maybe 2 attempts to spread Force Rend if you smash right away, so do keep that in mind. Other than that, those are just AoE fillers that you put in there, or if you're spreading with Smash. Going into an opener example, this is not particularly a rotation, it's just combos. Do want to clarify that. You can leap into Battering Assault, so you build some rage, you need some rage. Get Annihilate. So as soon as you Annihilate, you'll build 2 stacks of Annihilate. You can max out at 4, so the next time you use Annihilate, it'll be at max stacks, and you'll pretty much be pumping maximum damage that you can do. And then go immediately into Dual Saber Throw, Deadly Throw, and pop pop Berserk into Rupture, into Force Rend, into Vicious Slash, chances are your dual saber thrower will reproc again. So that means you'll be able to use dual saber throw again, probably in between the vicious. And the reason why I put vicious throw there is that vicious throw is more important than vicious slash if you can ever use it. Going into the abilities on the right hand side, you can use Berserk whenever you want to, for either Bloodthirst or to, or not Berserk, Frenzy for another Berserk or for Bloodthirst. Doesn't really matter which one you choose. Obviously in Arena you will not be able to do that. Basically, it'd be really good to just try to optimize this, but also at the same time just use it whenever you can, because it is, you know, extra critical for your dots and extra HPS that you're putting out there for your team. Ravage and Force Scream are filler abilities. I believe Ravage is below Vicious Slash in the priority system, so really only use this if you're probably switching targets, because you can Ravage, and while the animation is going off on somebody, you can move to your next target. So as soon as you hit Ravage, as soon as it starts, you just start moving to the next target. That would be a good use for that ability. Force Scream is good if you're range and you can't like get to the target, you're not able to slash, just use Force Scream. It won't refresh the Spiteful Saber effect though, so just keep in mind that you shouldn't always fit these into your rotation. You'll be doing more damage with Vicious Slash pretty much all the time. So going into our main priority system, which is on the bottom right, or not really the bottom right, but the middle to the right next to the S. We would start with Rupture into Deadly Saber. These two are the most important. You pretty much use Deadly Saber off the global cooldown, or off cooldown, because it is off the global cooldown. There we go. And Rupture, you just need to apply once if you're running Spiteful Saber, and you'll maintain that by using Slash pretty much all the time. Then you'll go immediately into Annihilate, because you want to get your Annihilate stacks up immediately, but also at the same time it's your main white damage ability, and it increases the, I believe, the damage of your dots if you use your dots immediately afterwards. Then you have Dual Saber Throw, which is another ability that hits pretty hard, and if you're lucky, if you can get it unprocced, and then when you get it to proc, you'll be able to use it twice. Then Force Rend into Berserk, so you can make sure that your Rend can crit. And then if you ever have Vicious Throw up, you should be using it before you use Slash, and then it's pretty much just Slash until everything is back up off of cooldown, and you just do it all over again. Spec is incredibly simple, and there's not really anything crazy about it. Going into game, I'll show you just a quick example of what I mean by the Dual Saber Throw. Excuse me. I am still waking up. I'm just going to use Frenzy to save myself some time. So in theory, you could hold your Berserk a little bit, but I choose not to. But as you saw, I used two different Dual Saber Throws. One was unprocced and then one that was procced. So when it does proc, it will reset the cooldown. So that's something very useful to know, and you want to be using Dual Saber Throw off the global cooldown. Or not off the global cooldown. Off cooldown. There we go. I'm butchering everything. But that's the main thing that you need to learn about Annihilation. There's honestly not anything crazy about it. Again, probably one of the more simple specs that you'll maybe ever play. So see there, we used it as soon as it procs, so we're not going to get a reset for it, but as you can see, pretty much most of the damage is just sitting here doing Slash over and over. Obviously, I'm not doing this completely correctly because, you know, I'm just showing an example. And there we were able to use it twice in a row. So that's something that you definitely want to learn, and for the most part, in comparison to other specs, I guess you could say, is that we don't really have like a great slow. We don't really have anything, right? So staying on target is a little bit harder, which is why I would recommend sometimes running Second Wind instead of Berserker's Call, because it'll allow you to stay on target easier, because you will have more mobility, because you're going to kill, and then you also have extra HPS when you already have good HPS in the first place. So the hardest thing that you'll ever have to deal with is staying on target. We currently have one slow, and that's Dual Saber Throw. Dual Saber Throw will apply a slow, and being able to reset it, using an unprocced one, and it'll slow, and then, if they purge that, you can just immediately throw it again with the proc. Bam, got slow there. That's pretty much the best thing that we've got. Everything else just kind of sucks. Force Rend is very hard to spread most of the time. It's very easy to counterplay. A lot of people can just evasion it. Hitting a person with evasion is probably the worst thing you can ever do in this game for Annihilation Marauder, because let's say you're getting your combo ready to go, use Berserk and Force Rend to annihilate. If they decide to immediately pop evasion as you hit Rend, you just wasted all of your burst damage, like pretty much. And that doesn't feel good. It really doesn't feel good. A lot of the classes in the game have a way to purge, and Annihilation just feels not great anymore. Annihilation used to be really nice, where it had more focus on Dual Saber Throw, Ravage, and Annihilate. Nowadays, it's got a little bit more focus on Force Rend and Sustain through Slash, which unfortunately Slash is white damage, so therefore your Sustain completely flatlines if somebody pops evasion or purges your stuff. So then you have to immediately reapply and then, go on from there. So for example, 90%. And what you'll be doing on Annihilation is this right here, spamming Slash. So take that with a grain of salt. This is why I've not played it yet. I've not really, I played it like once on stream, but I've not really been interested in this spec ever since Force Rend was introduced. Force Rend really made issues with the spec, and I understand that people still want to play this. This is pretty much everything I know. There's not really any like tricks that you can do as far as I know, because they did nerf the Force Rend thing into the ground. So I don't know what their design choices with this spec is, but I feel like it is. It's definitely confusion. This is why this spec got such a low rating in the 8v8 tier list, even though it's very playable, a little bit more playable than some specs, but I just feel like its damage profile is just a lot harder to apply, especially for people that aren't very experienced. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I'm going to be ranting about Annihilation and how I miss ult Annihilation, so I'm just going to call it here. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments.